Hey guys, guess what? Hey friends, real quick before we start, I have a Nugget Project t-shirt for the AW11. How cool is this design? I got an artist to make it up. I love this picture. It's obviously me working on the AW11, but I think the premise of the t-shirt relates to any of you that love working on cars, even just cleaning your cars, or just love your car in general. So it's a very cool t-shirt. I'm very happy and very stoked with it. I've got it available in a huge range of colors, so any color you can pretty much imagine, I can get it done in that color. And every cent I make out of those t-shirts is to go into making this car a reality. So to buy the donor car for the engine, the gearbox, the paint, and all the other stuff we need to make this thing happen. Hit me up if you're interested. You can message me through the Facebook page or through the Instagram page, but shoot me a message and let me know. $39 for the t-shirt plus $10 delivery anywhere in Australia. If you want to get multiple, I can combine the delivery charge. Thanks again, I really appreciate your support. Now, onto the video. That's right guys, as of today, this chassis is rust-free. There's still a little bit of rust on a couple of like the external, like in the fender panel and stuff like that, but they're all interchangeable, so I don't kind of count it as the car. But the car itself is rust-free, and man, when I started this thing, after the first repair and how long that took and how hard it was and how much trouble I had welding this really thin 0.8mm old sheet metal, I didn't think I was gonna get this done, honestly. I wanted to, but it was seeming pretty daunting. Anyway, I chipped away, I got my new welder, which did help a lot, and just practice and practice. And now this chassis is done. This is rust-free. It still looks like crap, but all the rust is cut out of it. So, and it was so much. You would have seen in the last rust repair video how much rust I had to take out of this car, and going all the way through it. I mean, we've replaced the passenger floor, a bunch of the driver's floor, a whole bunch of the floor in the front, all around the engine bay, all around the back, up inside the boot, everywhere. The whole front of the roof up here I had to replace. You see if you watch the windscreen removal video, all behind that was all just rust. So I had to recreate all that. I'll show you that in a minute. Man, and just little sections, like this whole section here was rusted out because it was behind a plastic panel. So I had to cut that out and do that. All under here, all along the seal, all on the front, in front of the doors, like so many rust repairs. In fact, look at this. This box is just full of bits of rust. There's the passenger, part of the passenger floor. Oh, that's the front. And then just like inside the dashboard, there's just this entire box full of rust, and that's not even the passenger floor, which is sitting over there. So it was an immense amount of work. However, we're done. So the chassis is now, we're kind of back to square one. Now we can start building this car back up. And I hope, I know I didn't show you a ton of rust repair, but I just had to get it done. And how many videos can you guys watch of rust repair? But I'm hoping, showing you that me with zero knowledge and just learning myself, it is something you can do at home. If you've got a car that you desperately want, but you can only find rusty examples of, or you just can't afford, like me, to go out and buy a $27,000 MR2 in good condition, you can go and buy something like this, which I still pay too much for, but what do you do? And you can slowly build it up yourself. And this has cost me, all this rust repair cost me $60 in sheet metal. Obviously I bought the welder, which cost me $300, but then I've done 3 bottles of gas, which was $100 a bottle, so $300 worth of gas, and about 3 rolls of wire, which have cost me bugger all. Like, I got them on sale actually for $10 a roll. So all up, I mean, I kind of don't count the welder as an expense because I've now got that for life, and I'm going to use that for heaps more projects because I'm really enjoying welding now. It's really good fun. So if you don't count the welder, let's just count the gas. You've got 60 bucks for the metal, and then you've got 300 bucks of gas, say, and a few rolls of wire. We're probably talking maybe $400 in material to repair this whole car. Now, the last owner did actually get a quote to get all the rust done on this car, and the quote was $13,000. And that is completely fair because the amount of time and labor to get this done, easily that sort of money. But the fact that I could do this on my days off in the shed, and it's cost me 400 bucks in materials, is very cool. So hopefully it's shown you guys you can do this sort of stuff yourself. Now obviously you've seen a lot of the rust repair on this car, so I'm not going to show you everything, but you remember we did the passenger floor, we did a whole video on that. little section of the driver's floor and all that sort of stuff. And as I said, around here, underneath there, all these sections here, did all that. Strengthened so that bit's actually 1.6. That's one of the stronger bits here. And this whole section here, this was all rotted out and all rotted out through here. So I actually did a YouTube short on when I cut this out. So go back and have a look at that. But this was completely rotted, both sides. So I cut it out, and it's not just that level too, it's actually the drainage channel. So as water flows down the windscreen, the water goes in there. So I had to recreate the drainage channel that flows through here and comes out this section here. So that was really hard to make sure the car's watertight. And I still need to do some sealant in there to make sure it's all good. But yeah, then plate over it and then recreate this rib here that usually goes across. That's usually where those two panels seam together, but then I put in a nice thick piece. Man, it's a lot of work, and even just little bits, like at some point the master cylinder has dripped a bit and it burnt through here, so I had to redo that. Obviously the whole frunk, this whole bottom section of the frunk down here, all the sections around here that hold the headlight and radiator assembly in, I had to redo all that on both sides. I had to recreate this whole section. So this is all new, and I've welded some new nuts on there, so that's all brand new. Man, it's a lot. And then obviously the roof, and the roof's filthy at the moment, but, and you can still see, we'll just zoom in a bit. You can still see the welds, but that is completely hidden by the windscreen. So I haven't bothered grinding them all back because there's just no point. But at least the roof now, so I replaced this whole lip, that whole section, and then there's a big section in the middle there that needed to be replaced. So that's all been replaced. And that was a lot of work too, because I had to get the curve of the roof right. Then we got sections here. You can remember there was a big rotted out section above the door here. This is all gonna need putty to get it smooth. And I've done the best I can, but still learning. So we've got it as good as we can out of sheet metal, and the rest will just be a little bit of filler, and we'll smooth it off just so you don't notice any of that. Also notice that used to be the aerial hole. So there was a hole there for the factory aerial. I don't listen to radio. I haven't listened to radio in like 10 years. So I just got rid of it because it was ugly. So I got rid of that, and we'll just be Spotifying it or whatever in the car. So yeah, it has been a ton of work, but as filthy as it still looks, it is all done. So now we get to move on to the next step of the car. So what is the next step? Well, while it's down to this level, obviously we're gonna have to start prepping it for paint and get all the body panels right. So I have been, as you can see, it's got the doors on it, and I put the doors on so I could finish off that section down the bottom so I can match it up both sides. And that's good, and the doors are actually pretty good. There's a bit of a scratch down that side, so I'm gonna try and knock that out and smooth it off. But before we do any of the paint prep, there is some weaknesses to these cars, so I think I want to address a few of those. Now, I have been teasing that we will be putting a better engine in this car, and I'm still going to tease you because I really want to try and buy the donor car, and I can be like, hey, here's the engine and the gearbox. But unfortunately, money's been horrendous lately, so I haven't had the cash to buy a donor car. I've got a bunch of them marked on Marketplace, ready to go, but yeah, money's just not quite there. So I'll keep on saving, keep on selling t-shirts and all that sort of stuff, and hopefully make enough money to buy the donor car soon. The reason I mention the engine though is these engines are notorious for ripping the mounts out of the chassis because where it bolts up to the chassis, it's a bit weak. So I will need to be strengthening where the torque mounts, the front and rear torque mount, bolt up to the chassis. So that's something we're going to look at in this episode. We're going to clean up under there and plate over it 1.6 mil, get that nice and strong. But there's some stuff in the front of the car I want to have a look at now. So here in the front of the car, one thing that has been brought up on the forums when these are tracked or raced is the flex in the firewall. So this is where our brake booster and master cylinder bolt up to. And there has been reports that this whole firewall can flex under heavy braking, which is not ideal. So I figure while we've got the car already stripped down, let's plate over that and make it a bit stronger. The thing I will need to do is I need to get the brake master cylinder in there and just see about clearance, because obviously if we plate, then we're going to bring it out a bit further. I want to make sure it's not going to hit anything or it's not going to be a problem. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to do is try and tie the firewall up to the strut towers if possible. So what I've got over here is I've got my first pile of stuff that's going in the front of the car. So we've got our brake booster and all the bits and bobs. We've got our windscreen wiper motor and windscreen wiper arms. We've got here, this is the carriage that holds the spare tire. So I want to try and get as much in the front as possible, so then I can see if anything's going to be in the way. We've also got some up here in my shoving unit of disaster. That plastic piece there sitting up on the old Supra seat, that goes in the front over here to hide like the fuse box and all that sort of stuff. Now, the reason I want to put that in is I would like to do, if possible, little gussets in here and tie this to this, just out of 1.6. And I think it would help strengthen the firewall for that brake booster, and also it'll just be a nice thing to tie the car a little bit together and make it a bit stronger. Everything else in here I'm pretty happy with, but yeah, let's work on that, work on tying them together, and then we can look at the engine mounts. There's one last thing in the front of the car that I would like to strengthen, and it's this guy here. So this is a cross member that ties a lot of the front control components together, and it is a very flimsy thing, and you see it's actually a bit bent and a bit damaged already. So I want to put that back on the car, see where it all sits, and then what I'd like to do is box it in. So I'd like to basically plate over this, get it nice and strong torsionally, and I think that'll help just tie the front of the car together a bit nicer and just make it a bit stronger. Look at all this stuff. So that's obviously the heater tap. Hose is actually looking really good condition. I guess it's inside the car, so it's not in the elements. And then that thing, what the fuck? Anyway, let's worry about this one for now. So this is the old brake booster. I hope it's okay. I hope it doesn't need a rebuild. If it does, I will try to get a seal and rebuild kit for it. But I have heard rumors that because this is a very, very old and original MR2, this brake booster might be a bit different from the later model ones. Kia's hoping it's not, and the seal kits work between them. Let's wiggle this in. Nice. Now these little pieces here, you'll see, these are actually rests for the sunroof. So you can take the sunroof off on this car, completely off, and it rests in here on the front. So it rests against those 2 points there, and then it's got a little lock here that actually locks it in. So you can take the sunroof completely off like a mini convertible, which is very cool, because when you look at the roof, there's nowhere for the sunroof to go. It's not like my Liberty where I've got a massive roof for the roof to go, sunroof to go down and in. There's nowhere for it to go. So they came up with the cool idea of let's just take the damn thing off. So I reckon that's pretty cool. So one thing I did just notice then is my brake booster looks very close to where my clutch pedal goes. So I think what I'll do is I'll shove the clutch pedal in, and we'll just make sure that all clears, because that would be a disaster if it didn't. Okay, so there's our clutch master. So remember, this car was an automatic. Sweet, it works. Okay, so our brake and clutch masters all fit in there nicely. Let's have a look at our windscreen wiper motor. So that goes in there. Now this is part of the thing I had to recreate. So this is part of the firewall that I had to make myself. So I'm a bit worried about making this fit. Good, so that answers that question. So I was going to do a gusset in there, but obviously we can't because the windscreen wiper motor fits there. So this is why I wanted to do this before I started welding plates and stuff in, because that can't happen. Okay, very dirty plastic shroud. So that says fuse, so that's the fuse box there. So it goes in under the covers for the, yeah. This is the metal holder, so the spare wheel sits there. You can obviously see the contour. Oh. I get it. Sits like that. and that stops the brake booster getting damaged. I understand. That's the first time I've had any of this stuff in the car, so it's kind of cool to see, hey? As you can see, like, that's the cage and the spare wheel sits there and bolts up to that. And then that cage stops the spare wheel from damaging the brake master cylinder. Nice little covering, and there's obviously a fuse box that goes underneath there, which is probably for windscreen wipers and fans and stuff like that. And there is something that goes under there, and I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to look at pictures and diagrams and figure that out. On the inside, you can tell that there is, we'll see if the camera can see it. You can see here, there holes, those holes in the middle there, they're for the heater. So the heater core goes through there, and there is something quite large over that side. I think that might be the grommet for the fuse boxes and stuff. So anyway, we'll find that out as we go along. However, my plan for doing gussets, I mean, I could still do one there, but I definitely can't do one that side because of the windscreen wiper motor. So I think I might abandon that idea. It was nice, you know, it would have been cool to do a nice little gusset with drill holes in it and stuff, but you know, if it doesn't work, does it? So after putting that stuff in, I think in the interest of not screwing myself in the future, I'm not gonna reinforce that. We'll just reinforce that firewall for the brake master. There is a company I noticed online that actually does this weird brace that bolts on here and actually stops this whole master cylinder from flexing. So it obviously is an issue, and being a 1984 car, it'd be an issue they wouldn't have known about until later down the road. Out of interest, let me put up this little chart up here. So this car is, the chassis number on this car is AW11 0006045. Now if I put up this chart here, it was actually built in August 1984. Now I can't look at the chart right now, it's on my computer, but from memory it's either the second or third month these cars were ever built, and these weren't actually released till 1985. So this is a very, very old early car, and it's kind of cool, man. Like, that's a bit of history. This is a Japanese import, very early AW11. Anyway, let's have a look inside and see if we can strengthen this firewall. Okay, so let's have a look here. So there's our clutch pedal assembly, and there is our brake. So we'll get the pedal and see how that all bolts up, and then have a look at how we can strengthen this. It's already got a plate over it, so it is surprising it actually flexes, but you know, I trust people. If they say it's a problem, then let's address it now while we still can, because I don't want to get this car into this many pieces again for a long time, if ever. Well, the problem is now is I don't want to plate up under the bolt holes, because then this top bolt won't line up. It's definitely something to consider. All right, let's pop this off. We'll have another look in here. So I've mentioned before that my friend Brian, who passed away, left me a bunch of tools, and some of the tools he left me, which I haven't even looked at yet, are these hole punches for steel, which is very cool. So since we need to make a big ass hole in the middle of this thing, I figure we give it a crack. So never used them before, I'm probably going to do it wrong. We'll use my step bit, we'll drill a hole big enough to get that bolt through, and then we'll try and yeah, see if it works. Put the cutting die on the bottom, and that on top. Who knows, man? Oh no, it's cutting. Sick. Oh, I still got to put a lot of force in it though. Ah, cool. And there we go. It's just hanging on this side, but only a little bit. I think if I actually just lubed the thread on that, it would have worked better, but anyway, not bad. Okay, so something like that. So I want to bolt it up, we'll prime it, we'll bolt it up, and then I can hammer this bit in because it does step in a bit. So get it all sitting flush, and then I can start welding it in. Okay, so I've primed the back of the plate and primed here. I will just need to grind, just strip back around the edge just so I've got somewhere to weld. And then I've got some nuts and bolts here, and we'll bolt that to that using those 4 holes so it doesn't move while we weld it. Okay, so I'm going to tack in these few here, try to keep everything flat, and then I can hammer this down, start seam welding through these ones, get it all in there. Alrighty, let's weld the rest of this sucker in. Okay, so it's not a work of art. I had some blow throughs and stuff like that. I don't know, whatever. Top weld's okay, like it's going pretty good. One's down the side, like I had a blow through here, a blow through there. Is it going to make it stronger? I mean, it's not going to make it weaker, is it? Whether it actually stops that firewall flex or not, who knows? I mean, I guess really it needs to extend over, but with the clutch there and stuff, it's too hard. So look, we'll run with that for now, and then if we have to, we'll work out maybe a gusset here, or maybe a support off here to the end of the brake booster. Anyway, let's give this a quick clean up, undo those bolts, give it a spray, and move on. Alrighty, let's test fit. Master, make sure it all fits properly still. Give this a go. Alrighty gang, that's us done for today. Unfortunately, I got a call from daycare and had to go pick up my daughter because she's hurt her wrist. Kids, the joy. Anyway, but at least that plate is done. Whether it makes a huge difference or not, who knows? Let's just turn the light on. It didn't come up too bad. My welds, like these welds were good. The rest was a bit shitty, but the whole thing is going to be covered by the brake master and the booster, so not bad. We'll give that a spray and see how we go. And I'm going to pack up for today, but we'll pick this back up in the same episode and we will tackle plating over those engine mounts. So we'll get the engine mounts out, have a look at them, see where they bolt up, and we'll plate them up and make them nice and strong. And then we're almost ready to do some exciting parts, like actually getting this car back together. We're going to clean the whole underneath of it and then start fitting all the new control components. Very exciting. I'm keen to get this thing back on its wheels and start getting ready to paint it. Okay, we'll check back in a few days. Okie dokie, it's a couple of days later and I've got a few hours, so let's get some stuff done. I've bolted everything back in here just to make sure my plating didn't affect anything, and it hasn't. I was thinking about trying to do a support bracket down here, but just with the lines and everything, it's going to be a bit tight. So for now, we're going to see if that extra plating helps with the flex. If I find it's a problem later on when I'm tracking the car, we'll address it later. Anyway, also, it looks like I am going to have to get a new master. I cannot get rebuild kits for these anymore. You'll notice there's only two bolts holding this on. This is a very old style, just from the original MR2s, just the first year or two that they came out. Everything else had a 4-bolt pattern, so, and it was a different seal kit, so very hard to find. So I have ordered a new, new second-hand booster and master cylinder from a guy in England. He's sending it over, also with a bunch of other bits that I'm missing. So that's cool. Anyway, so that'll be coming over, and then we can replace that all, clean it up, and put a new seal kit in it, which will make me a lot happier on track. Okay, so let's look at the next thing, which is our reinforcing the chassis. As I mentioned, when you engine swap these cars, they sometimes have a tendency to rip out the chassis, the torque mounts on these. So let me show you what I mean. So up here, so I'm going to be trying to film and hold torches and all sorts of stuff. Okay, here is where this torque mount bolts up. So, that way, bolts up there. This is very old, but I'm going to rebuild it. So that bolts up there, and apparently this part here is quite thin sheet metal, and that can tear out, and then this can tear off. So we're going to plate all of this, and I've already made up a template for that, and we're going to plate it in 1.6, which honestly, that over this will be more than strong enough. It'll be very strong. Obviously, the other side of the torque mount, I'll bring my light over here, is here on the chassis. So this is, let me get my rusty old torque mount here. So this one's even worse, looks gross. This one bolts up there and then attaches to the gearbox. But yeah, once again, this bit here can weaken and tear out. So I'm going to basically do a big U-shaped plate that goes over there, weld it all here, weld it all here. This one's going to be the easy one. This one's going to be a bitch. But I've already made some templates up, so let's go and have a look at those. Okay, they don't look that special, but they'll work. So that is the U-shaped one that's going to fit up and strengthen that whole thing. So that's our template. We're going to transfer that over onto this 1.6. And then this is the very convoluted one that will go up and wrap around that little knobby thing that sticks out. So yeah, we'll go transfer these over, cut these out, and then the problem is 1.6 is not easy steel to bend, and I don't have a decent bender, so we're gonna have to get creative on this one. Not the prettiest thing, but it's all I've got. My sheet metal bender will not bend 1.6. It's incredible the difference between 0.8 and 1.6, obviously double, but the strength difference, huge. Okay, so that's kind of bent up. It's a bit higgledy-piggledy, but anyway, we're just gonna mark out where the holes go in the chassis. So we'll put it up there and mark them up. This one's kind of ready to go as well. I just had to cut a bit more off the front, but once again, we're just going to mark out the 2 holes where the engine mount bolts through. Yeah, and then I might drill a couple of holes to do spot welds Like there, and there. Upside down, which is going to be a pain in the ass, but we might do the same on the sides here, and we'll do the same here. We might just do 3 or 4 big split welds all the way through here, and then I'll seam weld all the way around it. Alrighty, so we have our 2 pieces. So I've drilled the big holes for the bolts to go through, and then some small holes for doing tack welds. Same with that one. So now it's just a matter of stripping back under the car. So I've got to get it all back to metal to get rid of all the paint so we can weld it. And then I'll do some primer to stop any rust on the inside of this and on the inside of that. And then we weld it in. I'm going to bolt this out. This one's all a bit wonky. I'm going to use the mount to actually bolt it up and bolt it in place. And hopefully that should keep it in the right orientation and everything as we weld it. Let's do it. Cool, okay, that's all stripped back, and that one's all stripped back. So now just a bit of weld-through primer on there just to protect underneath it. And then weld these suckers on. So it seems counterintuitive to grind the paint back and then repaint it, but the paint on the car you can't weld through. Like, it's a 2-pack, it's not designed for it, whereas this is designed to be a weld-through primer. So we strip that back, paint it with this, so that'll protect it from rust once we put the plate on it, but we can still weld through this stuff. It's a zinc-based primer, so cool. All right, we'll let that dry and then weld it on. All right. Pretty good. Give that a hammer back. All right. You know what's fun about squishing yourself under a car in a rear engine bay? Nothing. Got my bit of leather there. Hopefully stop my legs from burning. Let's get this bastard tacked in. Are you serious? I'm out of wire. Out of welding wire. Well, that freaking sucks. I'm out of welding wire. I didn't realise how low I was. I thought I had another one too, another roll, but I don't. That little welder only takes 1 kilo rolls, so shit. I don't have enough time to go out today and get some more rolls, so I'll have to I'll stop off before work and we'll finish this video up on Friday, I guess. Bummer. I was really hoping to finish all this off today. Them's the brakes.
Been at it already, had my tarot read. Things are looking up for me, that's what my tarot said.
Morning friends, it's 4 days later and we're back in the shed. Got myself a roll of welding wire. It's a lovely sunny day outside too, which is nice. Hopefully it won't be so cold today. Anyway, let's get these brackets burnt in. Let's do it.
I wear a cape that is velvet, couldn't see it, she felt it. See it all like I'm Elvis, move my hips like I'm Elvis. I don't pitch it, I sell it, couldn't picture me jealous. Turning fans into zealots, tuning in when I tell it. There were 15 people at the gig, saying, oh my God, what fun this is. Did it all, did it right,
All right, it's gonna take a while. I reckon we time lapse the rest of this.
New cards, new deck, new life.
Alright, it's okay. I kind of had to start and stop. This is still quite thin steel over the top and I blew through a couple of times. Just out of interest, this weld was going up and this weld was coming down. So, speaking of some gurus, basically welding down a vertical, you get a much neater weld, but you don't quite get the penetration. Penetration. Going up, the weld's not as neat, but it does penetrate harder into the steel. So, you can really see the difference there between that one and that one. Obviously a lot neater, but since this is thin steel, I think we don't need to worry too much about the penetration. So for the next one I'll be going down because it does look a lot nicer. How's this little lump here that off? Gross. Anyway, give that a clean up. No one's going to see all this. The engine's going to hide it all, but that is going to be a lot stronger for that mount. Oh man, this one's going to be a bitch. Quite a tight area here, so anyway, we'll weld the other side of this in. I think I'm pretty much just going to have to kind of lay on my side or something. Figure it out.
King of Cups, he comes up right. Always, all days, all nights, sing do I do.
Okay, I've made an executive decision. I'm not going to weld the top of this. This seam sealer is so thick all through here and I've tried to get it out, but it just keeps on going. So, look, it's going to be way stronger. It's welded all the way around the top there. And this isn't the weak side. This side rarely rips out, so even what we've done now is going to be immensely strong for what we're doing. But the other side, on the other hand, does need to be plated up, and a lot of it is welding upside down, which is going to suck. So let's go do that one now. I haven't been looking forward to this. Okay, so that is this section all welded in. Try and get some light in there. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, not the prettiest welds, but it's going to make that heap stronger. And this is the part here that seems to rip out the most. So I'll put up a picture from this guy Alex I met. Lovely guy. He's done the same engine swap I'm going to do, and he sent me pictures saying you need to do this. I've learnt the hard way, so I'll put up pictures on the screen now and you can see his ripped out, so pretty gnarly, hey? Anyway, we'll weld the rest of this in. Unfortunately, that was the easy bit. All the bit underneath, I'm going to have to weld upside down, which is going to suck. Okay, not amazing, got a bit crappy over there, but it's welded in. Welding upside down is super duper hard. But that plate will make that so much stronger, especially this bit wrapping around. This is the bit that tears out, this bolt. So with that wrapped around and strengthening that, it's going to be so much stronger, which is awesome. So we'll just give it a clean up. We'll just grind off those spot welds just so they don't stuff up the mounts. Give it a spray and that is done. There we go, that is done. Now I still have that cross member that I want to reinforce, however I'm going to do that another day because this video is already getting pretty long. But we've got our firewall all sort of strengthened up. Hopefully we'll see. If it needs a little bit more, we'll look at that another day. But at least those chassis mounts are now much, much stronger. They will definitely put up with the new engine, which is good because there'd be nothing worse than putting this whole new engine in, getting everything nice and shiny, all painted up in the engine bay, and then within a few weeks they rip out. That sucks. So they're all plated up. I'm happy with the strength of those. That's really good. And that is basically now all the stuff welding wise I need to do with the chassis. So now we can actually start putting it together. Very exciting. So in the next episode, we're going to look at the final parts of the manual conversion. So we're going to do some pedal stuff. And then we can basically clean up the whole underneath of the chassis, treat it, coat it, all the control components back in with new bushers and back on its wheels. Very exciting. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. That would really help me out. That's how I know that you guys like this content, and it helps me kind of try to get more sponsorship, stuff like that. So, yeah, Like, subscribe, comment, all that sort of stuff. Appreciate your views. I'll see you very soon in the next episode.